Hi everybody, Joe Conkley in the shop. Today we are going to continue on this D-28 rebracing project. I've got the braces pretty well roughed in, a little bit more work to do on that, but for the most part roughed in. And I'm going to start the process of actually listening to and getting a feel for the final sizing of these braces to get the guitar to be quite a bit more structurally sound than it previously was, but also trying to make it sound good too. Part of that is to continue to reduce the size of the braces by taking a little bit more wood, mostly off the sides of the braces, and continue to triangulate them until I can get a tap tone that is improved from where we start from. A little vague, I know, but it is also not a real precise process from this end either. But for starters, I've got the internal spreader back in, and I have removed the whole rim here from the work board, so that I found without these spreaders in and the sides firmly attached or braced against the sides of the inner wall of the form here, that I don't get a very good tap tone. So let's just start there. And for starters, I'm hearing somewhat of a musical tone, a little bit of a bong, some actual reverberation, and starting to hear the initial pitch, if you will. You can hear that when I do it, here's the main working area of the top here, is the center of the lower bout. The bridge is almost in the center of that on a 14 fret guitar. On a 12 fret guitar, the bridge is in more of the center of that, which is another subject for discussion, but there's a little bit of a tone starting there. As you can hear, as I go outward toward the edge, it's solid but a little more dead in there. And as I move towards the upper bout here, it's pretty solid up here, which is what I'm trying to make it. This area right here and through the sound hole is a super important part of the structure of the guitar. It has to be really solid to withstand the string tension over years. So as we can see on this side, that is the major part of the meat of these braces. They're much bigger here in the upper bout in this transverse brace. I also made these sound hole braces just a tad thicker. They're usually just these popsicle stick style braces, which I have them that way again, but I made them just a little bit thicker to, again, get that part of the guitar to be very structurally sound. And I have the lower bout here to work with, specifically these two tone bars and the lower part of these X braces, and also these finger braces. There's another part that we'll work with today, which is all of these brace ends that are supposed to be tucked into the side lining. You can see I removed a small chunk of that lining just to remove the initial brace, but I'll show you what I'm doing there too. So there's that. I need to remove this interior spreader so I can actually get a look and have the opportunity to work on all of those brace ends at the upper bout of the guitar. So now I have access to this whole area on the brace ends. I got to refine these braces here in this area, especially this one is still pretty chunky. Basically what I've done is establish the high point of the scallop. As you'll notice, the lower part of the X brace and these two tone bars are really the main scallops. They're the only ones that are really scalloped. So I established this point here and this upper point here in the tone bars, made that scoop to them. scooped them to the ends nicely, took the finger braces and did that, scooped them out, and then I did that triangulation thing where I moved stuff from the corners here to triangulate that right here, and mostly at these peaks and transitioning into this lower X. I will pretty much leave the height of these, the high points plus the lowest part of the X, to a standard a height that I established from taking measurements from various vintage Martin guitars that were already scalloped that I really like the sound of, and came up with a figure based on several different observations, and continue to possibly refine those dimensions over time as I get the opportunity to see more guitars. And so then this removal of wood on the sides here and that triangulation is where I really have the opportunity to continue to refine the shape and tone of the braces. You can hear just removing that spreader, which makes how it's coupled to the sides a little not as firm. The sound, it's pretty close, but to my ear just a little not as solid. I don't get that same bong, so I really want to I realize I really want that spreader in while I'm listening to it. So what I want to do now that the spreader is out is I really want to finish these off, and I won't do as much there once I get the look and size that I want, and to fit some new linings into those on top of those brace ends. So let's take a look at that idea. We go on to our stash of kerfed linings that we have, and taken off some small pieces to establish these brace ends. So these actually happen to just be, by chance, 3 kerfs long, and I'll show you what I've got so far. This first one, you can see, has a little notch out for that brace end, but as I fit it in here, first off I fit it into that space, and when I did, I also drew out the brace end and then started to remove that material on the inside, and it's a pretty good fit. That's pretty much ready to go there. You can see that it with a little more work, it's going to be hard to detect that is pieced in there, and it will solidly establish the end of the X brace here coupled to the sides securely, whereas the tone bars are just reduced to nothing pretty much right there at the edge. Same with the finger braces. So the ends of the X brace and the ends of the transverse brace are the ones that are really coupled to the sides and underneath, tucked in under that lining. So that one's pretty much ready to go. Got another piece here that I'm fitting in on this end, and it's almost ready to go. I definitely, when I removed this kerfing to release the old braces, I went as close as I could to one of the kerfs, so that when I replace these, it's just a matter of counting the kerfs. This one, so they both fit in there. This one needs to go in that direction more, so it is not deep enough. Or one of the problems is this cut in the kerf is in line with these with the cuts in the kerf lining, and it's 90 degrees to these edges, so this brace comes in at a slight angle. So I know that on the interior of this cut, I need to take some more material off this corner and definitely refine the height of that, because during this process I also continue to refine this curve or scallop into that to make sure I had the right height to this, and again, which is just a pre-established number from observation, then with some tweaks depending on what I'm trying to do here. And again, the main thing I'm trying to do here is to reinforce the top better and keep it nice and sturdy while still keeping it as light as possible. But let's make a few little alterations to this. So I've got a nice fine cut file, but it's still fairly aggressive. But it has this one edge here that has no teeth on it. So I can lay that against an area that I don't want to cut and cut on the side here. So I'm establishing that angle. Got another file with a similar sort of cut, but it's a little smaller, has both edges with no teeth on it. And I can get this right in the middle here too. Make this a bit deeper. I feel like that is going to take a bit of time there, so I'm going to use this chisel to take off a little more wood faster, but not much. So I'm cutting this angle of this surface just back this way because of the scoop of the brace, and also I want to make sure the front end is down tight for both a good proper fit and a good look too. That helped, but I can see that still quite a bit of material needs to come off this side to make that fit. So let's see if I can. That thought there where I'm taking this surface here and angling it is something that I just thought of that happens a lot throughout the construction of the guitar and the repair. When you're fitting two pieces of wood together and you're using a water-based glue like the aliphatic resin tight bond glues or hide glue, which I'm using here, both of them are water soluble. So there's a fair amount of water in the glue, and it will tend to swell the surfaces. And when two surfaces are fit together really nice, if they swell, they're going to look like this once they swell. So a lot of times what you're doing to that inner part of that joint there is making just a little bit of a relief cut to allow for that, you know, so you maybe put them together like so, and as that swells and changes, it goes like this down to that very flat surface with a situation where you're assured that the edges are glued nice and tight. Because if any joint is going to be compromised, a lot of times it's from that outer edge just getting a little bit separated from the other piece of wood that you're trying to glue it to, and it allows air and moisture to get in there and can start the whole process. So a little bit of that going on here. So this is coming together a little more. It's not as deep as it should be. Still setting proud, and I think it's getting a little pinched on there. So I'm going to continue to refine this. Bummer. One of the challenges of doing this job is that this piece of wood has these two saw cuts in it that go down to a very, very thin edge here that holds the thing together structurally to allow it to fit into this curve. But it's very fragile, so while I'm working it, it can break like that. I could glue that back together, or I could cut a new piece. It's not going to take much to cut a new piece. So that's probably what I'm going to do. It's one of the challenges, though. I was going to say I'm pretty much done here, but let me try and glue this back together quickly. Do a little super glue here. Super glue is never too far away. See if I can just save this piece for demonstration purposes. And if it comes together nice enough, I can use it without making a new piece here. Came together okay. Will be useful enough for demonstration purposes, but I'm going to make a whole new piece just because it won't take that long. Fitting in there pretty good as it was before, but I'm going to make another new piece to fit in there. And I need to do that the same for 4 more brace ends being tucked under the lining. One really good source that I found for just sort of getting good information and maybe reinforcing for me previous information about how this all fits together and what you should be thinking is the Irvin Samoji book. Shoot, I'm forgetting the title of the book. I just thought of this now, but it's an Irvin Samoji book about a well-tuned guitar or a good sounding guitar and how to establish that. He talks about the bracing systems, and one concept that I wanted to hit here was how they are coupled together and how much they are coupled together. So for instance, obviously the X brace itself right in the middle here is very strongly coupled to each other. It's supposed to be a very tight joint there, and establish this as the main structural element of the bracing of the top. And as I mentioned, the upper bout here needs to be quite firm and mainly focused on structural aspects, while the lower bout can be a little lighter and more of a part of the tonal aspects of the instrument. So the upper braces are notched. They're coupled to each other, the X brace, and notched into these linings. The same with this upper transverse brace. It is tucked into the linings in a very beefy brace, and then this whole structure here is coupled together with these sound hole braces. These are just butted up against the edge here. There's no particular joint there, but just that butt joint. So there's always the possibility of coupling them in the same way, where you might make this brace a little long and notch it into that one. The same here. There is a bracing concept that I've heard called the A brace, which is just a variation on the X brace. In a production sense, I saw it used in the Martin D-1 guitars, which were the first sort of middle-of-the-road guitars produced in Nazareth. A progression from the Shenandoah series on through, and they used, and it's this part right here. So they took this brace right here and made it pretty big, probably as big as these tone bars, and made it travel. There was a notch created this one where it traveled through and was notched into this end block, so it was really firmly tied into these two braces. It also went through here at a slightly different angle and came down and notched into the lining somewhere down here. So it created the letter A here, the two angled lines, and this one being the letter A, and then took this situation and coupled it very strongly from the neck block to the waist, just to add another structural element. Again, interesting idea, and another that really, the coupling adds a tremendous amount of strength without a whole lot of extra material. So, but the traditional X brace allows that area to be a little more flexible. So that's what we got here today. I'll continue on this project and keep you posted on it. And thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time in the shop. So long.